Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of The Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys joining me for today's video. And today, guys, I want to share with you probably the most important lesson that I learned in bass fishing that helped me get from just like being a struggling angler where I just, I didn't have a lot of confidence and I struggled to get where I felt like every single day that I was in the water that I was going to catch bass, and it's just a matter of time to do that. It's just like it was a major realization that I discovered that took me, it probably took me about 6 or 7 years of failing to actually learn this. So I'm going to share that with you guys in today's video, and I think it's going to help you guys definitely sort of reach that next level in your fishing. Also, guys, a couple quick housekeeping tip reminders. I just want to let you guys know, you probably heard me talking about it, but Tackle Warehouse has got a big site, spring fishing sale going on right now. 25% off on a ton of different stuff on the website. I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description if you guys would like to take advantage of that and use my link. And also, thank you very much for everybody that's taking time to hit that subscribe button here to The Fishing Teacher. Really appreciate that. Okay, guys, there was a period from about 1987, or actually from about 1984 to the late 1980s, where I was really inconsistent in fishing. I'd have some good events and then I would struggle, but I would struggle more than not. It's like I'd have more tough days and more tough tournaments than I had good ones. And I started examining and paying close attention to everything that I was doing. And I started analyzing other anglers that were doing really well, and I was fishing with those anglers. And you know what the thing that I realized was? I was spending my time as far as practicing for the tournaments, which, if you don't fish tournaments, it's not practice, it's just you're going out looking for them. But I was spending too much time trying to fish areas that just were not that productive. And I was trying to find something and force something to work that wasn't going to work. And it was only when I realized that the key to bass fishing, the key to doing well in fishing, is to identify the best area in a lake, put yourself around the area that's got the most fish in it, and figure those fish out. And that's a lot more it's a lot more difficult than what it sounds like as far as putting yourself in the best water and then figuring it out. Because it doesn't make any difference how good you are. It doesn't make any difference how good of the equipment that you have or, anything. If you're not around the fish, you're not going to catch the fish. And one of the things about it is you have to be able to identify what is a really good area that can hold a population of bass. You don't really want to go out and fish those type of areas where it's one here and one there, what a lot of people call junk fishing, where you go up and you'll see one dock and you fish that dock, and then there's no more docks to fish, and then you see one stump in the water and you catch a fish off that stump, but there's no more stumps. You want to find an area that supports a large population and then you can catch fish off a diversity of different cover in there. So once I learned that, then I completely restructured the way that I went about fishing. So here's the advice I want to give you guys. When you're planning your trip out, I don't care if it's a tournament or just fun fishing, take some time to study what's going on a little bit. Study the weather patterns, study some results of the latest fishing reports, study a little bit about seasonal patterns of the fish, and study about the lake you're going to fish, the characteristics of the lake, like the water clarity and the cover that it has. And then based upon all of your research, pick out one area of the lake that you think is going to have everything that the bass need for that time of year, and go into that area and make that area your lake. In other words, let's say, for example, it's the springtime of the year, and we know the fish are going to move shallow and look for spawning areas. So if I want to find a really good area, I'm going to look and try to find like a major creek arm or a big bay or something on the lake that has a lot of flat banks in it and has a lot of protected water where those fish can spawn at. And then I'm going to go into that area and I'm going to fish everything with a fine-tooth comb and try different techniques. And I know if I do get on the right thing, that there's enough different type of water for me to catch a lot of fish in there. Another example, if you're fishing in the wintertime. And in the wintertime, normally the deeper, clear water is going to be a little better. So I look at my map and I try to figure out where the deepest, clearest water in the lake is, and I make that part of the lake my entire lake. I mentally write off everything else and I fish the cleanest, deepest water that I could find, and I try to figure out the fish in that particular area. Now, this is something that it sounds obvious, but it's not. It's not as easy as what a lot of people think, because a lot of times if you go into an area that you think is really good and has all the criteria and you don't catch the fish in there, then you'll lose confidence in that. But I can promise you guys, if you get into an area that has a diversity of cover, and it's got a lot of different water to fish in there, and it's got, you're seeing bait fish and you're seeing activity, there's going to be some bass in there. You just sort of have to figure out how to catch those fish. And you can't go wrong, guys, with fishing the major creek arms in a lake. I talk about this a lot, and if you're having a hard time locating bass and finding bass, the simplest way to do it is to look at your lake map and pick out 2 or 3 of the biggest creeks on the lake, because major creeks in a lake have the biggest populations of bass in it. They always do. And most of the time, those creeks have a lot of different diversity of cover within there, and you just have to figure it out. And you can go into one creek, like I said, there could be docks in there could be rocky banks, there could be steep banks, there could be flat banks, just a wide range of different stuff in there. And your job is to figure out what cover the fish are using primarily. Now, sometimes it can be a cover deal, like they want to be on a specific part of cover. Other times, it's just the fact that they're in there and they're using everything. There's been a couple situations where I've been back in a major creek arm, and literally, guys, I just put the trolling motor down and I fished everything. If there was a steep bank, I fished it. A flat bank, I fished it. If there was a back of a cove, I fished it, and just tried to pick up one here and there. If there's a concentration of fish in that creek arm, I tell you, somebody that's an expert at this, and I had a chance to fish with him in tournaments a couple times, and I saw him do it, is Rick Clunn and Larry Nixon. Both of those guys, when we got to the area that they wanted to fish, they put that trolling motor down and they fished everything. Guys, they just didn't pull up and fish a couple docks and leave, or fish a good looking lay down stretch and leave. They put that trolling motor down and they fished whatever was in front of them, and they went around that entire creek and just fished anything that was in front of them and wound up catching them. And that's one of the things that you have to do, is if you want to consistently catch fish, is put yourself in those areas where there's big concentrations of fish, and don't waste your time like junk fishing and spot fishing and trying to fish a pattern. A lot of time, pattern fishing was really good 40 or 50 years ago, but pattern fishing has sort of fell by the wayside. Pattern fishing, if you're not familiar with it, it's like, let's say, for example, you catch a fish on a steep point, a steep rocky point, and then you go to another steep rocky point and you catch another bass. Then you start looking for those type of areas to run a pattern on steep rocky points. That works a little bit, but it doesn't work like as good as it used to. The fish have sort of gotten off of that, and they gravitate more to big areas. That's why areas always win tournaments most all the time. All the tournaments I've won, and most all the tournaments you see people won, they camp in 1 or 2 areas. They don't move around a lot because they found an area that has a big group of fish. So anyway, I hope that makes sense and helps out. We'll talk later.